Hello, today we were working on I can read and write decimals using standard form and word form. And during this video, we are going to be using the representing decimals notes sheet that we have started in class. We're going to review a little bit from class, and then we're going to take a look at the bottom section of our notes sheet. So just as a quick review, when we are reading and writing decimals, we have this decimal where we have 1, 1. We have a 1 in the ones place, so 1, 1. We have a 2 in the tenths place, so that means we have 2 tenths. We have a 4 in the hundredths place, so 4 hundredths, and a 4 in the thousandths place, so 4 thousandths. And if I look at what is shaded in blue, I can see that I have one entire flat, completely shaded in. That's my 1, 1, my one whole. Then I have 2 full columns. So those are 2 rods. So that is my 2 tenths shaded. Then I have 4 hundredths, 4 units. And then if I look at these tiny rectangles, I see that I have 4 of them shaded. So that's my 4 thousandths. And when I actually look, if I tried to count every single tiny rectangle I have shaded in blue, I would actually have 244 of them, because that decimal is telling me how many total thousandths I have. And when I read this number, I have 1, because I have that 1 whole, and I have 244 thousandths. And make sure when you're writing this, you are including the D in the word thousand, then the THS. So thousandths. So we would read this 1 and 244 thousandths. The word that you have here is the very last place value you have in the number you wrote. All right, so let's take a look at one of the examples from your Peardeck from today. So in this one, it's similar to the previous one, but we have 1 whole. So there's my 1. So that means I have 1, 1. Then I have my 2 tenths. So these rods, the purple, those are tenths. Then I have my 4 hundredths. So there's the 4 hundredths. It's getting too small for me to write, but these are hundredths. Hundredths. 4 hundredths. And then these are my thousandths. And I have 7 thousandths. So when I read this number, I would say 1 and 247. If I read that, that looks like 247. And the place value I end in, it's not tenths, it's not hundredths, it's thousandths. So this word should be thousandths. 1 and 247 thousandths. All right, very nice. So now that we've taken a look at review of that, there's one more problem in your Peardeck for you to practice. Check your work on this one, make sure it's correct, and then you have one more to practice. But right now, I actually want us to transition to our notes sheet from our math notebook, so that representing decimals. At the bottom of your notes sheet, you will find this chart, okay? And so I want to take a look at what we would write in here and what these values are. So we're going to go through them one at a time, and we're going to take a look at what those values are and what they represent. So this first one, 5 ones and 3 tenths. I've shown you a visual model here of what that would look like if it were completely shaded in. So I have 5 ones, so those blues are ones, and I have 3/10, 3 columns shaded in. So if I look at this, that means that I have 5, and remember that is kind of where the decimal would go. I have 5 wholes, and now I'm going to talk about my parts of a whole. Well, I have 3/10. Okay, so the 5 ones, 3/10 becomes 5 and 3/10. And if I'm writing that in standard form, that just means in a decimal form, I'm using just digits and symbols. So I have 5, and then my symbol of my decimal point that is separating my wholes from my parts. So 5 decimal point 3. I have 3/10. So 5 ones and 3/10 looks like this. 5.3, but when you're reading it to share the value of the number, we would say 5 and 3/10. All right, so we have 2 more to take a look at, and then you have another slide in your Peardeck for practice. But please make sure you're filling these out as we go in your notes. All right, so in this one, I gave you a visual of this as well. Yes, the last one is bigger than the wholes, but that is just because so you can see it more clearly. But in this one, we have 6 ones, so I have 6 wholes. So I would read that by saying that I have 6, and those are the wholes. Now I'm going to talk about my parts. So how many tenths do I have? Well, in the tenths place, let's see, I have 5 of them. So I'd have 5 of them, but then I also have 2 hundredths. So I don't say 6 and 5/10 2 hundredths. I want to put those together, and then the words I say are really representing where I am ending my place value. So I'm actually going to do standard form first for this one. So I know that I have 6. The decimal point is where I say and, so 6 and. And now if I have 5/10, I have a 5 in the tenths place and a 2 in the hundredths place. That's actually telling me how many total hundredths I have, because the 5/10, if I count those as hundredths, the squares, that's 50, and then I have 2 more, so that's 52. So when I'm saying it in words, I would say 52, and then the place value word I would say is hundredths. And again, make sure you have that D in the hundredths. So 6 and 52 hundredths. That's how we would read that in word form and what it would look like in standard form. Okay. All right, one last one in our notes. And this one is taking us all the way to the thousandths. In this one, it just says 3 hundredths and 4 thousandths, right? So if we're taking a look at what this would look like in standard form, we'll start there. Do I have any ones? No, I don't. So I'm going to use a placeholder in the ones place. Then I have my decimal point to show that we're getting into parts of a whole. If I'm looking at this model, do I have any tenths? Nope, I don't have any tenths. So what are we going to put in place to hold the place of the tenths to show there are none? Yes, we're going to put a 0 there. All right, and then we have 3 in the hundredths place. We have 3 hundredths, and we have 4 thousandths. So in the thousandths place, I have a 4, and we can see that in our model. Okay, so if we're trying to then say this number, we would say that we have 0 and Remember, the 0 is the placeholder in the ones place. And if I read what I see here, I see, like in this highlighted section, that's showing me 34, right? So what I would write is 34, and then my place value word would be where the last place value I am in, and that's in the thousandths place. So this is 0 and 34 thousandths. So that's how I would have this number in standard form and word form. All right. Thanks for working through these 3 examples with me. Now in your Peardeck, if you could please go ahead and complete these last 2 examples. If you have any questions, please let me know. We will take a look at them tomorrow in class. And good luck, and I'll see you later.